Hello everybody, my name is Monty and this is Not Good Gaming, and today we are going to be ranking all 22 scenarios from Roller Coaster Tycoon 1's original scenario pack. So this is the scenario pack that would start and come with the game. So how this system is going to work is I'm going to individually go through each and every scenario and rank them up from 22 to first place based on what my preference is for the scenarios. And then at the end of the video, I am going to put them in a tier list based on what I potentially think is the quality of each scenario. So, ranking them up from 22 to number 1, and each one is going to get its own ranking from S to F. Let's get started. In 22nd place, with a dead last ranking, we have Rainbow Valley. Now the problem with this scenario is that you cannot remove any of the trees and you cannot make any landscape changes, which makes this scenario quite difficult. The thing about this is, though, it's meant to be one of the most challenging scenarios in the original pack, and this definitely succeeds at being hard. However, it is also very annoying to do, and to move around each tree and avoid making landscape changes. Otherwise, it's an okay scenario. I mean, there's nothing, like, inherently wrong with this scenario. However, I do have to say, this original scenario pack, I think, has scenarios that are all very good in their own way. So even though this is placing dead last, I would still say there's probably a D for me, but for someone else it might be a B or a C or an A or something like that. So Rainbow Valley is gonna get a D. Coming in at number 21, we have Mega Park. Now this is a bonus scenario, sort of, that you would get for completing all 21 of the original scenarios. So I'm counting this as a scenario in the original game. The problem with this is that it's so wide and there are so many paths to deal with. The thing about this is it's essentially a sandbox. You still are limited by space and all sorts of things, but it's not a bad scenario at all. You just have to be prepared for lost guests and whatever else. As for the difficulty, it is not super hard, but the fully fledged park that you unlock in a different scenario pack is much better. This is gonna get a D. In 20th place, we have got Big Pier. There is not much to this scenario. You have a guest goal of 600 by the end of, I believe it is year 2. Yes, it is year 2. And you basically get only this space and only this space to work with. I think some people love this, and I myself am not a hater of this scenario. I like it. But when the quality of the pickings is just so good, something is gonna have to fade back, and it will be Big Pier. And to me, this is the final D tier scenario. We will be moving up to C class next. In 19th place, we have Lightning Peaks. This is one of the expert scenarios, and it's quite big, but the problem is all the land is not flat. So it is a tricky scenario to get right because you have to build it high up, and high up construction costs a lot of money. But this is not a bad scenario, and I really do like this scenario. There isn't much to it in terms of like replayability. Like, this is, to me, is a once and done. Once you have completed the goal, you don't really have to come back here. But it is an improvement, so it is getting a C. In 18th place, we have something that many might comment on being too low, and this is Thunder Rock. My problem with this scenario is there is not a single tree in sight, and this is a relatively small footprint of land to build on. It's an expert level scenario in this pack, but it's still pretty easy. You gotta get 900 guests by year 4. That is, if you know what you are doing, that is a really cheesy goal. One perk about this scenario that I do like though is the rock formation. I think that is pretty cool. But other than that, there is not much you can say about Thunder Rock. See, 17th place, we have another somewhat tricky scenario, and this is Mothball Mountain. Now, it doesn't require a lot of guests to win the scenario, and it is a very pretty scenario. Like, you've got all these hills, and you've got this roadway here. There's some in-depthness to it, and I like that. But this is a small footprint once again, and there isn't much in terms of flat land. I see. In 16th place, we have Millennium Mines. This is another scenario that I think some of you are gonna hate that it is so low. One of the big perks is that this is a huge plot of land, and it is an easy goal. I believe it is under the intermediate category in this, so it's not super hard. That is the name of the game with every single one of these scenarios in the original pack. These are pretty easy scenarios. I also really like how the terrain intermingles with itself and all the rock faces and all the cliffs. But other than that, there really is not much to this scenario. I like it, but it's still only a C. In 15th, we have Pacific Pyramids. Now, I actually quite like this scenario, but once again, there isn't a lot to it. You've got a pretty good footprint, and you've got some decorations and a lot of paths, which can be somewhat of an issue. So you would probably have to block off this one, and then somewhere along here block off a piece of the path so all the guests don't get lost immediately. But it's not a bad scenario in any regard. It's just kind of dull and listless. I know it's a dead horse, and I'll keep saying it, but there is not much to the scenario. But I do like it. It's still a C though. In 14th place, this is gonna cause some comments and some backlash probably, but it is Dinky Park / Poke Park. I like this scenario. I really do. But again, I say there is not much to it. You've got this limited space to start with, and why it's pre-built as well. And you can also expand out over this way and get quite a bit more land, but this is a relatively cramped scenario from the get-go and even when you expand. So it's not as rebuilding as you might want it to be. However, I like all the little lakes, and I especially like this road and how it weaves near the park, and you can build over it, but you can't build under it, and so on and so forth. It's definitely not a bad scenario at all. In my ranking, it places 14th, but in someone else's, it might be 6th. See? In 13th place, you have something that, once again, I think some people aren't going to like, and this is Leafy Lake. This is the third scenario, and it's one of the originals that you can unlock from the get-go. It is already pre-unlocked, so you can choose to either play this one, or Dynamite Dunes, or Forest Frontiers, or Diamond Heights. Generally, when I booted up Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 back in the day, I played this first. But as I've gotten older, I realized this does not hold up as much as I want it to. You've got all this space to build stuff, but around here it's pretty skinny and you can't buy any land, so you're just kind of stuck with what you get. But other than that, it is a lot better of a scenario than some of the other ones we have seen. And I could also see someone ranking this in their top 10. It just misses the cut, but it is for sure our first B. And here we come to the beginning. In 12th place, we have Forest Frontiers. Now this is the very first scenario in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, and it is by far the easiest. In RCT 1, the guest goal is 200, and Open RCT 2 is 250, but that is cheesy. Basically, all you have to do is place one merry-go-round and run a 2-week ad and you'll be there. This is nostalgic for me, and it's nostalgic for a lot of people. You've got quite a bit of space to build here, and then you have a lot of space back here to buy as well for pretty cheap. There's nothing inherently wrong with the scenario or inherently great. It's just nostalgic because everybody who's ever played Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 has played Forest Frontiers. It is a great scenario, but when the fish are biting and you have a big fish at the top, something has got to fall. All the little parks and all of the slightly not as great as some of the others fall to the wayside. It's a B, but it's only 12. In 11th place, we have Ivory Towers. This is a big scenario for the most part, and it has pre-built rides in it as well. But the thing that makes this tricky is that the theme of this park is that it was poorly run. So you see all like the benches and the lights are broken, there's vomit everywhere, there's grass everywhere, and it's just, it's not the easiest to get used to, especially if you're starting out in the game. But when you're an experienced pro like I am, this scenario is a cinch. And I've always loved this suspended swinging, especially because of the original Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 intro and how it swings in the intro. You can just like hear the music playing. And it's a great scenario. It's 11th, but it's still a B, because everything above this is just ranging from good to incredible. So something has got to fall, and it is this. B. In 10th place, and the start of the top 10, is a scenario that I think a lot of people aren't going to like because I placed it so high. This is Trinity Islands. Now it's an early scenario, and it's one of the first ones you unlock, but the trick about this is it's an island system, and there isn't really that much land to work with. But I placed this so high because for a long time this was my favorite Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 scenario. Like when I played this game, and I played this game over and over and over again, I always wanted to complete however many scenarios I needed to get this scenario so I could just play this one over and over again. I like it for its challenge. There isn't much to it, and it's a pretty easy scenario, but an inexperienced player might have a little bit of difficulty with it. You've just got to learn how to build layouts that are kind of tight and conforming to the park boundary. This is the first A. In ninth place, we have Mel's World. Now this is a later scenario, which is probably quite a few of yours in the top 10, top 5 maybe even your number 1. Now I really like this scenario. I like it for the roller coasters you have pre-built. You've got this bobsled, and then you've got this cool invert coaster, and then you've got this Lost Free Fall and a couple other rides interspersed. One of my complaints about this scenario is like the lack of trees. Like you have, of course, you have trees, but there is a lot of land that doesn't have like a single tree anywhere near it. This isn't a hard scenario at all. There is quite a bit of real estate where you can build more and more, but I just wish it was dolled up just a tiny bit more. This is a great scenario, but it's not one of my favorites. It is still an A though. In 8th place, we have Aqua Park. Now this is definitely a great scenario. All of the top 10 are, and I could totally see this one interspersed with any of the top 10. I could see it at number 5, I could see it at number 2, I could even see it at number 10, or depending on if you like it or not, maybe even lower. But for me, this is number 8, because this is a water-styled scenario, and to my knowledge, it is the only one that is like this, where all the pre-built rides are water rides. So you've got this cool river rapids, you've got this cool double log flume, and you've got this dinghy slide, and it is just a great scenario because there is plenty of room to build, and you can do a lot of cool things in this scenario. It's gonna be an A. In 7th, we have Crumbly Beach. Now I know this one is also very, very nostalgic for a lot of people because of this wooden roller coaster that you would see and like all kinds of thumbnail images and videos and whatever else, and it is a great, great scenario. I really like the wooden roller coaster, and this is not as easy of a scenario as you might expect because a new player might not know how to build very properly, so suddenly you build one roller coaster and it takes up half your real estate and you can't get any more. It is a nice scenario, it definitely very much is. I just wish it had a little bit more, like in the innards of it, because is there even a single tree actually in the park? No, not a single tree. But the outskirts are really cool. And of course, this wooden roller coaster is something special. Crumbly Beach, it's an A. In 6th place, we have Dynamite Dunes. And Dynamite Dunes is so special for only one reason, and it is this: Dynamite Blaster. Now this is an iconic roller coaster in our Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. I mean, I've probably seen over 100 screenshots of just this by browsing Reddit and Discord and whatever else. And it has been recreated so many times because it is just, this is something special. As for the rest of the scenario, this is the second scenario in the pack, so this is the second one you would play in the natural progression of things, and you have a ton of land to use. So you can build all the way over here, you can build out over here, down here, and yeah, it's a great scenario. And I very much love the scenario. I always want to play it when I boot up Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. Hey! Into the top 5 we go. It's Katie's World / Dreamland. Now these next 3 are what I consider fringe as tiers. I have them all as rank A, but I could totally see people having theirs in S tier, and any one of these could be the #1 spot. Now for Katie's World, this is based off of Lightwater Valley in the UK, and this iconic roller coaster here is based off of the ultimate, may it rest in peace. And you have a ton of rides already built. You've got this bat flyer thing, you've got a roller coaster down here, then you've got the train, you've got all kinds of rides in here, and you've got plenty of space to expand. And it's a wonderful scenario, and it's one of the only scenarios in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 that is based off of a real park. This is a great park. It's a great scenario. It's very fun to play, and I could totally see you placing it at #1. But for me, it's just an A tier, and it's number 5. At number 4, we have Crumbly Woods. Now I have to confess, this is a scenario that I used to hate. I never liked playing this scenario in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, and I have no idea why. I could totally see any one of you putting this higher. It has definitely grown on me quite a lot, and I understand the charm and appeal of this scenario. Partially because of this double wooden roller coaster. It's just freaking awesome to watch go. And you've got all these rides here. You've got basically Earn Brew, you've got this Wild Mouse, you've got this. It's a fantastic scenario. You've got so much space to work with. There are a lot of trees, so that's going to cost you money, but there is not very many complaints I could make about this. And come to think of it, I can't think of one. It's an A tier, but I would give it an A+, if I was doing pluses and minuses. Number 4. At number 3, we have Evergreen Gardens. Now this, for a long time, was also one of my top 3 favorites. I always have to play this scenario when I boot up Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 because it is massive. You have so much land to work with. It's basically a sandbox. You could build wherever you want in this scenario and have to connect to something else, and it's just, what else is there to say? This is an iconic scenario. It's many people's favorites. Heck, it was even my favorite at one point or another. But there are 2 that I just so prefer. And now that I think about it, I feel like I want to put this in S tier. It is a fantastic scenario. All you have to worry about is just making sure all the paths are blocked off so guests don't get lost in this absolutely massive scenario. And at number 2, you probably expected this to be number 1, but it's Diamond Heights. Oh, what can you say about the scenario? It is fantastic in every single way. Like, I cannot make a single complaint about it. You have this beautiful dueling roller coaster. You have this dueling wild mouse, wooden wild mouse. Then you have this, and the log flume, and this train, and you just have so many beautiful lakes and inlets and caverns, and it is a fantastic scenario. It is many people's favorites, and I can see why. But I still have one more that I prefer just slightly over this. It's an S tier. By far an S tier. And I highly recommend that you play this scenario every chance you get. Because, fun fact, it is one of the first 4 scenarios available in the game. You don't even have to unlock it. It's just there for you. And finally, at number 1, it is carts and coasters. I mean, just look. Look at how this wooden roller coaster intersperses with the land and with the go-karts, and then you have this one, this absolutely unit of a roller coaster. And by far, this has always been one of my favorite scenarios to play in any of the Tycoon games. Even in the expansion packs, this is still a top 3 scenario for me. Like, it is just so wild and amazing. It's an S tier. An S tier all the way. And honestly, I think it's kind of underrated. Because I don't see very many people talking about this scenario, and I just don't know why. It's such a gorgeous scenario, and all of the wooden roller coasters and the go-karts intermixed with each other. It's just such a cool aesthetic. I could go on for hours talking about this roller coaster. And this scenario, this roller coaster is fantastic. This one is fantastic. All the go-karts are fantastic. I love this little lake. I love all the outskirts. And Chris Sawyer actually used trees for once. What else can you say? The only thing you have to worry about is the pathing. But thankfully for you, all of it connects up to each other, and this is a widely spaced park. So you'll have some stuff over here that gets attracted to, and as well as over here and down here. And yeah, this is my number 1 favorite scenario from the original scenarios and the roller coaster Tycoon 1. There is just nothing better. Beautiful scenario, picture perfect, and I will always love this scenario. So that wraps up the top 22 scenarios in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, the original scenarios. These scenarios are all fantastic in their own right and their own mind, and I could totally see each one of you having a different ranking than I do. I labored hard over this video and this ranking, so please give me a like or a thumb or a subscription, because it keeps me going. And all I have to say is I really hope you enjoyed this review. And if you want to see more reviews, please let me know, because I will 100% do more reviews on scenarios in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 or Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, or maybe other games like, I don't know, Minecraft or whatever else. This has been fantastic fun to record and edit and do everything for. So I really hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Monty, and this is Nugget Gaming, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Hey y'all, thank you so much for watching. Send me a like or a sub if you enjoyed this content. You can also find me on Discord at Narcus Empire, and there's a link there, and TikTok at Monty Creates. I really hope you enjoyed this content, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.